statistics provide that there's nearly 1.4 million homeless children in the nation public school. And 22,765 of those students are here in Pennsylvania. And that's a 94 increase since what? 2008, right? So what causes all these statistics to rise? What are some of the challenges? And research suggests that these are some of the challenges. Finances, family and friends, shelter, food, and clothing. What if these weren't challenges? Huh? What if they were just basic necessities, also known as resource? See, a challenge is something that occurs internally and that is expressed externally. So the whole context of a challenge, it has to be something that's opposing. For instance, I'll say to you, I want you to run 50 miles in 10 minutes, and I'm challenging you. What I'm saying is that I'm opposing that you're able to do that. So when you look at challenge, finance, family, shelter, food, that's not a challenge. That's just a lack of resource, necessities. So what's the real challenge? And that's where we're going to discuss tonight. What is the real challenge? The challenge is the external perspective that opposes the internal perspective. Basically, what society says oppose what's actually going on when that person becomes homeless. And pay attention to these two words, stigmatize and marginalize, right? Because we're going to break it down so you get a full understanding. So just walk with me through this journey, because I'll open up your eyes to something. Because those things that we thought were challenges, those are just lack of resources, necessities. So when you look at the whole aspect, the societies, and it's apostrophe S, which means that it belongs to who? Society. External perspective, which I call the self, right? Can help to damage or enhance the brain's internal perspective, which I call the bib. Challenges starts where? Internally, which is the bib, but are triggered by external forces, which I call the self. Therefore, the challenge is what? Inside. A challenge is never outside. It's always inside, which is the bib, which the self is formed in the brain before becoming homeless. Stigmatized, right? People know what it's like to be homeless before they even become homeless. The stigma that comes with it, right? And then what happened now when you become homeless, then you now marginalize yourself. And what I call that marginalized, which is actually going on at the same time. And let me prove this to you. There's a study. It's called the 8 Semantics of Oppression, a study done by Dr. Brennan, right? And what he said was that people can use words to oppress people. Semantics, right? And look at this context. Number 1, it says African American, right? Number 2, it says animal. And this study showed that a professor back in the 1900s said the Negro is one of the lower animals. So what this study highlighted when I researched it, it highlighted how you can use words to oppress people in this context. The words, then the definition, then the oppression, and then the internalized aspect of it. And I looked at this study and I'm like, something is missing. And what I realized, how do you get to the words? You have to see it. So the things that you actually see, then you create a word. The word comes with a definition. The definition brings on the treatment, and then the treatment is internalized by the person. And let's show you an example. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? A picture, word, Get it? So if you look at these pictures, society tells us that these people are celebrities, right? So the word that we use to describe them are what? Celebrities, right? What's the definition of a celebrity? Somebody's popular, fortune, right? And then comes the treatment. How do you treat someone who's a celebrity? Right? And if you treat them that wonderful treatment, how do they internalize it? They feel happy, right? But what you don't realize that all of these people were once homeless. Every single one of them was once homeless. So how do you treat them? Do you treat them a homeless person or do you treat them like a celebrity? Because it's the same person. Society just tells you different. So let's walk into an example. You see the picture, right? And if the picture is there, what's going to come next? The word. So the word is coming up next. The example. He that is without sin cast the first stone. And in this scenario, it's a biblical story, right? And I'm giving you an example of it. The lady was an adulterer, right? Which means she committed adultery. The community, the society was going to stone her to death, right? And Jesus came in and switched the position from what? An adulterer to a sinner. He that is without sin cast the first stone. And all of them walked away. It was the same person. They moved from adulterer to a sinner. And they treated the person, what? Differently. So the whole aspect of that is highlighting how society gives you that whole context of how you treat people. It's called the step, right? So look at this now. Remember I said the word comes, right? We just saw the picture. Here's the word. Homelessness or homeless. Homelessness is just a process. It's not a challenge. It's a process that someone actually goes through. But the whole aspect of it is called a self, also known as what? Semantic oppression, which is what? Stigmatization. So you know what the whole homeless field goes through before you even become that process. And then you have the word homeless. Homeless going to highlight what a person is actually going through in today's society. So it's actually a form of what? Semantic form of oppression attached to the mental state. It's called marginalization. So based on the stigma that you have in your mind, when you now become homeless, you marginalize your own self. And it co-occurs at the same time. And the word, if you look at this is what the social work, they know about it. How a person, a word can be. They move from victim to what? Survivor. Retard to intellectual disability. Negro to what? African American. Speed bump, their own name change to speed cushion. And if you go to some store today, they no longer call them customer. They call them what? Guests. The history of homelessness, it has been a bum, a hobo, a vagrant, homelessness. We need it. And remember I said the word, then comes the definition, right? And then brings on the treatment. Let's see the treatment. The city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, right? But yet still they don't offer that love and support to someone who's going through some challenging times. And we call ourselves the what? The city of what? Brotherly love and sisterly affection, yet we don't what? We don't really love those people who are going through the challenging times. And that's when love shows up. Not when everything is mellow. Love shows up when someone is actually going through a challenge and you can be there to help them through that challenge. Right? Research suggestions. This is a treatment, right? Look where Philadelphia and the rest of the world put people who are homeless. They allow them to go in abandoned houses, subways, vehicles, streets, and couches. And this next one is actually going to challenge your mentality. Animal shelters. Every shelter is an animal shelter. You take your animal to the what? Shelter, called the animal shelter. You never heard someone saying, I'm going to take someone to the human shelter. In the context of a shelter, way back when, shelters were utilized for animal temporary housing. We're out in the field, and guess what? It's night, I gotta take you back home. But guess what? I don't want anything, any prey to prey on you. So I'm gonna put you into a shelter for the night. Temporarily housing, so we can come back in the morning. And what is a shelter analyzed today? Temporarily housing. And what you may not know that every shelter violates the human rights. People don't live in shelters. A nest, a bird lives in a nest, right? A home, people live in home. Every shelter in America or around the world violates the human rights. Number 25. It's dehumanizing to have someone in a shelter. And how I know that? Because I study the human rights. But if you don't know your human rights, people will just put you anywhere that they feel. So the treatment, right? And then when you treat someone, then they internalize it, right? Our traumatic experience have made us accustomed to not having, to the point where not having is what we become accustomed to having. Marginalization, right? When we lose our hope, we gain a rope. Youth. Suicide, the third leading cause of death for the youth. Not in the homeless field, youth overall. Some people use their rope, and some people don't. My experience, and how I know about this, I showed you the study, right? That morning when the building burned down, I was able to save my computer and my textbook. This was like 7:30 in the morning. 12 o'clock I was sitting in my classroom getting ready to take my final exam. That was 2 years ago. None of my classmates or my professor up to this day knew that my place burned down and I lost everything that morning. Because I was so stigmatized that being homeless is not a good thing. So I went to class and I sat by myself and I did my exam. But I also had something that was co-occurring that day. I said this was the best day of my life. I went to the UN 3 times after that, and this is one of the projects that I worked on. It's called Designing a World That Works for All. I said that was the best day of my life, even though I lost everything. It has become that day. And I'm here today because I had that big brain internal perspective that this is the best day of my life. And I've been to the UN 3 times after that. I'm a part of the Bill Clinton Global Initiative that we work on global challenges. And that all because I had that brain context. So I showed you the study and I showed you my experience, right? The challenge summary, how society views the homeless youth, external perspective, AKA the stigmatization pill, right? And there's only one challenge. Everything else is what? Side effects. Next, the word, labeling, side effect of the pill. Then you have the avenue of not being loved, the treatment, it's a side effect of the pill. Finally, you have the loss of hopefulness, which I call homefulness, not treated like a family. And then that's when the marginalization kicks in. And that's actually just a side effect. So there's only one challenge. Everything that you see in life is just one challenge. Everything is a side effect afterwards. The stigmatization pill comes with many side effects, aka the power influence of one. If you're in the self-help world, you know the power and influence of one, aka challenge. One challenge, many side effects, aka the law of cause and effect. If you study, you know these things, that it's called the law of cause and effect, right? And those are just side effects. And these things have been known for centuries, right? Negativity brings down your immune system. And from the book of the biblical aspect, as a reference, Proverbs 17:22, a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bone. These things are well known for centuries. The known value of semantic oppression, aka the SEP, a marginalized pill. When you take the pill, it comes with a side effect. Thank you.